Well, I'm loading in here and I'm not really seeing anything that looks super different. But then you take a look at this Imperial map mode and there's no HRE. Oh, there actually is an HRE, and the Emperor is Majapahit. That's right, the same wicked mind that brought you the Dry World mod that I covered a couple of weeks ago has moved the HRE to Southeast Asia, specifically Indonesia and the Philippines. We've got Aboriginal free cities. We've got Spice Island free cities. We have Cambodian stateless society free cities, and electors from every portion of the region. The Holy Malayan Empire has 8 free cities, 23 princes, and apparently 2 extra electors. So many that they are overflowing out of the graphical user interface. This one should be a lot of fun, and I definitely think you're going to enjoy it. If you do, make sure you leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Without the HRE over in Germany, I think things are going to get very blobby very quickly because, believe it or not, the HRE is actually a very stabilizing force for this region, at least in EU4, and I think you could argue in real life as well. Now, at the same time, we will probably see a little bit of stagnation, or at least a lack of border changes over here. We'll see how it goes. The AE impact from the HRE provinces is an extra 50% on base, I think. So things should go a lot slower over here. They have religious peace. I'm not really sure exactly how that will play out, but it does look like we'll have some variety, though Majapahit is the current favor for the emperorship. And I'm not even going to try to pronounce these names. But there's only one way to find out what happens. That is to turn it on up to speed 5 and unpause. Yeah, only a couple of years in, we're seeing quite a lot of war going on in Germany. Lots of occupations, lots of, total wars going on by the looks of it. So yeah, I'm sure we're going to see some pretty sweeping border changes before too long. Same over in France. I think the 100 Years' War is reaching its inevitable conclusion. Poland got Lithuania. Both Muscovy and Novgorod have a crazy amount of rebels. Don't know what that's all about. Oh, yo, the Teutons just straight up annexed this Volgas nation. Oh my gosh. Yep, Bohemia doing a bit of blobbing over here into Bavaria. France took all of England's mainland territories, including Calais. And for some reason, Timmy is blobbing out all the way over here into like Kashmir, I think. And apparently taking some land up here in Transcaspia. They also like full annexed Ajam. I think they have cores on them in 1444. So Timmy being incredibly aggressive early on. Many people are actually just voting for themselves for the emperorship, but I do believe Majapahit has at least 2 votes or 3 votes here, so they should be sorted. I believe they should be fine. But with how slow imperial authority is going up, I don't think we're going to be seeing any reforms passed anytime soon, especially considering the fact that they just lost a bunch. I don't actually know what's going on. Oh, no peace. Yeah, there's war within the empire. So yeah, we're probably not going to see any of the imperial decrees or whatever passed. I doubt that. Oh my gosh. So Brandenburg got annexed between the Teutons and Magdeburg. And I think even this guy over here, Lubeck, took a province as well. So rip those guys. So we're seeing some interesting border changes going on over here. Burgundy has fallen under a personal union of Aragon and is currently involved in a war with France because Savoy is allied to Aragon. So regardless, the French are going to beat up on Burgundy. The Ottomans have annexed Constantinople, and then Venetians and even Genoa got in on a little bit of the corpse that was Byzantium. Okay, we have a new emperor here in Butuan, who is a 1-province minor in the Philippines, the Grand Barangay, or however you would say that. Okay, man. Yeah, I definitely don't think that the emperorship is going to be doing well. Maybe a little bit of balance could be useful, but it's an interesting premise nonetheless. Now, Hungary has integrated Croatia, which usually means that they have become an incorporated personal union of Austria, making them, definitely stronger. And then apparently they're involved in a war with the Ottomans because I believe the Ottomans attacked Moldavia when they were a subject of Hungary. Then Austria got them as a subject, calling in Austria and their allies. And so things are looking pretty bad for the Ottomans. The numbers are definitely not in their favor, and they're probably going to lose, which would be really cool to see. And the weirdness does continue. We're 15 years in, and for some reason the Teutons decided to take land from Poland, which I assume was via their disaster. There's no Danzig, so I don't actually know what happened, but they're doing quite well. They're actually doing very well. Oh my gosh. It's not even 1500, and Germany is almost unrecognizable, to be honest with you. Poland has lost a ton of land to Bohemia, who took a lot of land from the Teutons, and now the Teutons are based out of Berlin. So there you go. Denmark has eaten a bunch of northern Germany, splitting it with Magdeburg, and Austria has taken all of Bavaria outside of Salzburg. Venice has annexed Milan, pushed down into central Italy, and they're currently occupying Rome, with Florence jumping over here and France taking Catalonia. Now you're going to see some weird borders with the English down here and around here, and that, my friend, is because they got a PU on Castile, a spontaneous PU on Castile. This game literally never ceases to amaze me. Muscovy is pushed up into Novgorod, though it looks like the Danes beat them to a lot of the land over here. And Timmy continues their domination, annexing Fars, pushing over into Oman, and they annexed Afghanistan as well. Looks like they lost some land to Nogai up here, but they've taken more land over here as well. So honestly, the Timmy may just be thriving. They even got a province over here in Aden, and I have no idea why. Interestingly enough, we're actually seeing some blobs popping out of India as well. Malwa and Jaunpur have taken a ton of the land here in the central portions. Normally, I feel like it's a little later that you see northern India start to consolidate, but I'm here for it. Manchu has formed, and Oirat has annexed Mongolia, and sadly, it looks like Ming has actually annexed a bunch of Korea. Though Japan, very much still in disarray. We've got Hosokawa and Usugi in the north and the south, and then Ashikaga kind of spotted throughout. But meanwhile, down in the Holy Malayan Empire, I think it's called, we have Majapahit has annexed the rest of Java outside of one province. And aside from that, things are pretty steady, as you would expect. It's a shame because at one point they did have 50 imperial authority, but it doesn't look like it's doing so good anymore. I don't really actually know why. Probably because somebody subjugated one of the electors. The Burgundian inheritance happened and they demanded lowlands, but I doubt anything interesting would have come from that. And of course, with 1500 right around the corner, we've got Cape Verde going to the Portuguese. Dominica, I think this island is called, going to Portugal, as well as Bermuda. There is nobody else doing any colonization just yet. And normally I wait to check the great powers list, but I really am curious how things are going to go throughout this game, so we'll probably check a couple of extra times. It's almost 1500, so the Reformation is maybe coming soon. We'll see. With less tags in the Catholic world, we're probably going to see it delayed a bit, but we'll still see it, I'm sure. France, almost 1,000 development, and then Ming with 1,200. England with 737 development seems very excessive, but then again, you also have to remember they have a personal union of Castile, so they will not be colonizing. We then have the Ottomans and Denmark, neck and neck in development. I mean, they have the Kalmar Union, but that is still something. And then Austria with their personal union of Hungary, followed by Venice, who doesn't have any subjects that I can think of. They're just really, really powerful because Italy is overpowered. And then the MAMs are actually in the great power list. Once they embrace institution, they'll actually jump up to the 6th spot. So shout out to MAMs. Well, we're in 1840 and things are definitely still very blobby, even more blobby than it was before. We don't have any Reformation just yet, but the papacy is at 93% reform desire, so I think we will see it within the next couple of decades. Great Britain remains the overlord of Castile. France is pushing into the lowlands. They actually have all of it, and now they're into Denmark. So I think we're actually seeing like Napoleonic borders. Venice is seemingly splitting Italy with two Sicilies, who has formed in the south, which is very cool to see. And somehow, some way, the Ottomans have gotten the entirety of this as an eyalet, and they even have Persia. So the Ottomans are doing very good. Right next to little bro of the Timurids. So we're at least seeing them do fine, though it looks like they've actually lost some land to Sistan and Transoxiana. I imagine that they were disloyal. Over in India, Delhi is almost gone, with Malwa eating up Bamanis, splitting them with Vijay. So we've got four major nations over here in India. Mingo and strong, 100 years in, but Hosokawa has annexed Kyoto, and Ashikaga is now kaput, though Japan has formed with Usugi in the north. So yeah, things are looking very strange over here. Portugal has made their way into the Cape of Good Hope, and Jolof, as well as Castile, is actually doing a bit of colonization. They must have had exploration ideas before they got PU'd. That's the only way I can think of that happening. But we're seeing some variety over here with France and Castile in Brazil. Down in Buenos Aires, we've got Rio de Prata for Portugal, as well as in the Caribbean, as well as in Mexico. Portugal is doing a lot. But don't worry, we've got Denmark over here settling New Denmark, or whatever you want to call New York. And then the British are over here in Newfoundland. So we are definitely seeing some variety, and I'm always a fan of variety. 100 years into the game, France is the #1 great power with a very powerful Great Britain and Castile personal union in the #2, though the Ottomans will take #1 once they embrace that institution. That eyalet down there is a lot of development, 670 development almost for their eyalet. So the Ottomans are very strong. They're actually the #2 great power just on their own development, which is definitely something. Denmark and their subjects in the 4th spot. Venice with almost 700 development with no subjects in the 5th spot. Austria and their subjects in the 6th, with Muscovy very powerful with a lot of development all their own, followed by the Ming. We're into absolutism. We have 1 free city and 6 princes. But don't worry, our Emperor of Majapahit here are leading us to salvation. The Holy Malayan Empire with -0.19 imperial authority per month. They're folded. There's nothing they can do anymore. As if that wasn't almost just guaranteed from the start. In the East, Ming is thriving. If you can believe that. Thriving. Beating up on Manchu right now. So that's really cool. Japan is also united, beating up on Manchu in the south here. And of course, Russia is pushing eastward, finishing up their colonial frontiers over here. Though, the further west you go, the less Russian it is, with Perm independent and Poland taking the rest. It is all Poland. Ottomans integrated their subjects, and they are absolutely terrifying, basically the center of the entire world. And Jaunpur, I believe, formed Delhi. There's no other way that these borders could be happening, in my opinion, so I'm pretty sure they just formed Delhi. Down in Africa, we've got some colonization going on, though we have Malindi, who I believe is like a 1-province minor over here in 1444, conquering the majority of this coast, with a bunch of colonizers down here. Congo united, though losing some land to the French, though maybe they're getting some of it back. We'll see how things go with that. Sub-Saharan Africa is very much colonized as well. And then when we move up into the colonizers' lands, things are looking a little funky. Castile is independent, which is good for them. But not so good for them is that they are full occupied by the French, they're terrifying. The French are absolutely terrifying. 2-front war, Castile and Austria, and France is handling it well. That's definitely something. 2 Sicilies pushed down into Libya, which is pretty cool. Tuscany seems to have wrested a bunch of land over here from Venice, as has the 2 Sicilies, with Venice actually being owned by them. Meanwhile, across the pond here, we've got Inca united, but the colonizers are definitely doing their thing. I think France may take Brazil from Castile. Meanwhile, it's mostly Portugal over here, with a couple of random provinces going to Canada. We've got some pirates over here in the Bahamas. The United States is independent from the Dutch, I believe, though I'm not sure about that exactly, with Canada also independent. The United States are a Protestant Danish colony. There you go. Canada also Protestant Danish colony. The Reformation happened, though in what capacity, I cannot really say. Anglican and Protestant up here in the north. That's literally about it. There's a couple of Reformed provinces here and there. There's one Protestant nation over here, and that's literally it. New World's a little more Protestant, but it's honestly just all Catholic aside from that. And so at the halfway mark, we have the Ottomans well out in front. Looking at the map, I don't think that's any real surprise, though you guys know that once revolutions comes around, the Ottomans tend to crumble. Portugal and their colonial empire in the #2 spot, though once institution is embraced, France will certainly take that #2 spot, with Poland behind them, and they do still have a PU. Oh, they do not actually have a PU of Lithuania. Okay, so they're independent. Austria, and then followed by Castile, then Ming, who is in the great powers in the 1600s, and I think that is a total win for them, followed by the 2 Sicilies because Italian development is busted. You know how I know it's the age of revolutions? This tells you it's the age of revolutions. Timmy, completely gone. I think they were at least partially there before. Now they are completely gone. Transoxianian Tibet definitely has a nice ring to it. Ming has surprisingly lost a little bit of land, though they're also surprisingly very stable still. So I'm not really sure what they're doing, like how they're managing this, but I'm a big fan of this. Meanwhile, Japan, Manchu still duking it out, though it looks like Manchu's losing probably, though it looks like they may have taken some land from Russia. Not 100% on that. Though who has been taking land from Russia is Poland. Polska Góra. All the way from the Urals to central Germany. Poland is just absolutely bussin', as the kids say. We also have an Italy that was formed by Tuscany, which I'm a big fan of. And of course, the 2 Sicilies has taken quite a bit of land over here in Greece, as well as the Mashriq, because reasons. Looks like Malacca is challenging Majapahit for the emperorship, or at least, for their clay. And the colonial game is wrapping up by the looks of it, with a little bit of English in the south, and then Portuguese French. Portuguese over here, sadly eating most of the America as well as Canada portions. French Cascadia, Portuguese Cascadia, but then Pacifico Norte and California both going to the Spanish. Though I gotta say, big fan of Polish Canada. Love seeing unconventional colonizers colonizing. Of course, the big bad France in the room. Yeah, they've pushed up into Norway and Denmark. They're so scary. But they're actually not on the great powers list, which is concerning. Oh, no freaking way. Oh, no freaking way, bro. Hey, yo, they're even loyal. 400,000 units in the field, and they are loyal. That is insanity. If you did not expect to see Poland PUing France, leave a like on the video. So yeah, with a little over 100 years left, Poland is actually the #1 great power, uncontested by 1,500 development, half of their subjects development equaling 1,900. So yeah, they're very, very formidable. They actually control the majority of Europe, with Portugal in the #2 slot, mostly because of their colonial empire. The Ottomans, though, they're going to fall. Castile, despite being a subject for most of the game, they are now an independent nation and the #4 great power. Ming still hanging on there. They went from 1 down to like 7, and now they're up to 5. So shout out the Ming. 2 Sicilies neck and neck with the Ming for the 5th spot. Delhi over there in India, and Vijay actually, 2 Indian nations in the top 8. Very nice. Hello 1821, my old friend, and oh my, do we have some good stuff to be looking at here. For some reason, Transoxiana and Delhi decided to be the successors of the Ottoman Empire. So apparently Delhi is like 3rd Rome, because it certainly ain't Russia, whose land is over here for the most part, and then 1 province up here, losing much of their heartland to Zungar. So that is definitely something. Ming managed to hold it down despite losing a couple of provinces to, I think, Wu or Yu or somebody early on. They're doing okay. They ended up taking some land from Japan in Korea, holding Korea. 1 province in Cochin they lost, though I think they may have actually even been like a Manchu thing from before. Regardless, seeing Ming in 1821, still with the mandate, still thriving for all intents and purposes, that's a total win for them. Obviously, yeah, the empire ain't feeling so good. I don't even know if it exists anymore, I'll be honest. Yeah, it does, but like I said, it ain't feeling so good. Losing 1.18. 1.18 per month. That's 1 prince. Rip those guys. Portuguese Australia across from Portuguese Australia, and I thought this was Spanish, but it's actually Vijayanagari. So there you go. And honestly, most of this is Castilian and then French, so that's pretty cool. Portuguese over here in Sumatra as well as in Malacca, so they definitely got some colonization done. But yes, Java is Castilian and Vijayanagari. Castilian, Vijayanagari. Know your differences. Africa is almost entirely colonized, with Congo exiled to like Lake Victoria, which is like awesome considering this fact that they start like over here. So they had a migration due to that. So that's really funny. Basically everything else was all colonized. Italy was also colonized by the Commonwealth, as was, you know, Iberia. But just look at this mess over here between British, Italy, British, Balkans, 2 Sicilies, Italy. It's just, oh, it's so bad. Apparently we have Austro-Hungary with Bosnia just chilling there, and Lithuania holding deadly still, hoping not to get annexed. Of course, France didn't really do much because the Commonwealth are still their overlords. Spoiler alert. Oh man, and Iberia is just so messy, man. This PU that they went through with Britain and then France getting PU'd by the Commonwealth just led to some tragic outcomes for these guys. So it is funny to see they took 2 provinces from Portugal. And meanwhile, basically the entirety of the New World is free. We've got mostly free nations over here. Well, I guess I'd say Illinois, the US, and Mexico are all free. The rest is all still colonized, though they ain't doing much. Funny to see just Castilian Florida right across from New Providence, independent Cuba, Mexico, Colombia, very big Colombia, and then French Brazil. And the world is super Catholic. Well, this is all owned by Catholics, though it is still Orthodox, but Catholic steppes over here, that's pretty interesting to see. Central Asia is all Sunni, Southern Asia is all Hindu. Still lots of Buddhists though. The Dai Viet did a ton of conversions over here, which is really cool to see. And then a bunch of Shinto over here as well. Shoot, man, we've even got some Hindu over here. We got some Catholic, some Buddhist, some Sunni. So we got some diversity over here in China. Very progressive. New World is a lot different though. It's literally all Catholic outside of like Newfoundland. Oh, and like 3 totemist provinces here in like Oklahoma. And in today's episode of Nations Getting Exiled to Greenland, Canada, who is Protestant, with their capital in Eriksfjord. Very good. Culturally, the New World is extremely Iberian with a little bit of French and, a bit of American, but it's almost exclusively in Canada. And the Quebecois hanging out over here in, like, Oregon and Washington State, smoking lots of marijuanas. With the Occitans pushing down here into Iberia, that's pretty cool. Definitely some Polish conversions over here in Pomerania. And I definitely think some Lower Saxon was pushed up here, and some Rhenish was down here. Bavarian, probably, but I'm not 100% on that. Of course, the Muscovites colonized quite a bit, and it does look like Poland actually converted a bunch of this to Novgorodian, so that's pretty good. Though, man, you really can see the development of Italy from space. Like, France is good, Iberia is actually really good, but man, Italy is just a whole other game. China, Japan, Southeast Asia, Indonesia, they're all looking okay. India is actually fairly low this time around. Mesopotamia looking pretty solid, but how about just like random oases of metropolitans over here in Transoxiana? New World pretty solid down here on the southern coasts, maybe a little bit over here in like Ecuador, I think this is. And then, North America is actually pretty solid. Cuba looks really good. The Yucatan Peninsula, and then the East Coast over here. Even quite a bit of development up here in Newfoundland over in Canada. So shout out that. We finished with the Commonwealth. Very much the number one great power by a long shot in, and it's not even close. Even if they didn't have France, it would still be the number one great power. Delhi, the number 2, actually, which I did not expect, and definitely did not expect the Ming in the number 3 slot. Castile in the 4th, with VJ, the colonizer, in the 5th. Mexico, New World native, in the 6th, with Italy, just Italy, and they got sliced and diced. Still a great power in the 7th spot. 1800 development in just Italy, maybe a little bit of North Africa. Transoxiana, another Asian nation over here in the 8th, a fully stacked economic hegemon for the Commonwealth, which is really cool. And last I looked, these guys had over 1 million troops, France did, but I think they were in a war and then they pieced out. But they had over 1 million last I looked, which is pretty crazy. So moving the HRE down to Southeast Asia definitely doesn't help. It's detrimental to them, at least, but it definitely made some interesting stuff over in Europe, and I appreciate that a lot. And if you do as well, make sure you leave a like and subscribe if you haven't already. I appreciate you making it all the way to the end of the video. If you have an idea of a mod that you'd like to see, make sure you leave it in the comments down below. People have mentioned Pangea. If you guys see a Pangea mod and it's actually been updated, let me know. I actually haven't seen one that has been updated, but I totally would love to see it. Any mod that changes the map is something that I am a big fan of. So leave it in the comments below if you do know one. But yeah, I appreciate you, and I'll see you in the next one.